I know exactly why.
Do you see that kind of, I guess you could call it rust, having gone for 6 months without really having true contact? Turnovers, you see fumbles, I think, happen a little more early in the season because you're not used to having the ball and taking that kind of pounding and hanging on to it.
Absolutely. You can, you've done it a long time, and you can get out there and go through the motions. But again, the game's different when people are coming at you. One of the things that we always did in training camp was we did it with the Raiders. We went out and played against the Dallas Cowboys, because when you spend all your practices against your own guys, eventually you start figuring each other out, so it's a little easier.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, dude, don't go hard this time. They used to call it brother-in-lawing. So when you get to go against another team, Cleveland, we went to against Buffalo. Here it was with the Cowboys, and it gets you really geeked back into it. But then the fourth preseason game was the one they always tried to set us out, especially as it got older. I always said, listen, at least let me play half of the fourth. Just because, exactly what you were saying, the rust.
Yeah.
You got to get out there, and I don't want to take a 2-week rest and feel better. I don't want to feel better. It's football season. I want to feel crappy.
How were guys when you were playing, as far as coming into camp, as far as their conditioning was concerned? Because nowadays you see guys work out 24/7, 12 months a year. There was a time when guys came to camp to get into shape. That's what they used camp for.
Yeah.
What was it like when you were playing?
I'm not so old that I was one of those guys that had to work in the off season,
right,
like the old guys before me did. But it was coming to that point, and we started working out. And then Marty Schottenheimer one year in Cleveland, one off season, said, listen, we have a non-mandatory, because we weren't allowed to do it, a non-mandatory off-season workout program that you have to go to. And I'm like, what is that?
Non-mandatory. Wait a minute.
The first one, I showed up late. Well, I wasn't there yet. Let's put it that way. And my phone rang. He goes, Bob, it's Marty. Where are you? On my way.
You knew as soon as the phone rang, didn't you?
Yeah. It had to be non-mandatory for rules' sake, but it was like, if you want to be a part of the team, you better get down here and let her start doing it. And I think more teams started picking that up, and I think finally they just said, listen, this is a year-round proposition with guys working out and stuff, so let's just make it part of the deal.
Now we're speaking to Bob Golic, of course, former All-American at Notre Dame in football and wrestling.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
And, of course, played for the Los Angeles Raiders. Now
he's going to keep pumping the Notre Dame angle. He's a big Irish fan here, so
you know what?
Be ready.
I can see he glows a little bit.
Every time.
I'm a Catholic kid from Chicago. It's just the way it goes.
Oh, my
it's
God.
in the blood.
Yeah, he's perfect.
Ohio, too. Same,
he was born with the virus.
No choice, right?
With the virus. Yes, I stayed away from the Cub virus, though.
Yep.
But listen, so you played in Los Angeles with the Raiders, and now the Raiders obviously moving to Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Did you ever think in your lifetime you would see an NFL team here in Sin City?
No, not ever. I mean, they were so strict and so talked to us all the time about gambling. And if you had to call from anybody, then you have to report it right away or you're going to get in trouble. As a matter of fact, they call it the game that we ended up calling the drive.
Yeah.
When Denver beat us.
The Elway game, right?
As I'm leaving the house, my phone rang, and I picked it up, and the guy goes, his voice goes, "You better win today." And I'm going, "Excuse me?" He goes, "You better win today." And I'm like, okay, is this like guy threatening me, or is he just an excited fan with a deep voice?
Yeah.
So I told him, I told the guys, and nothing came of it. But everybody was very much on, you're really on edge about the whole thing. And we knew things like point spreads and things because players want to know going in, are we the underdog? Are we the favorite? What do people think of us? And we always turn to the sport books to figure that out.
Yeah. Now, how was playing, number one, playing in L.A. after being a Midwest guy, playing college? Of course, you start with the Patriots, but then to the Browns.
Yeah.
And you get to L.A., and then you play for Al Davis. What was that like? I mean, every player we've ever talked to on this show who played for Al Davis has a good Al Davis story.
I'll tell you what, the very first day I got there, It was they took me to our facility in El Segundo, which was an old middle school, and it had been gutted out, and they put us in, and we were in the kids' locker room, and they made it was truly amazing. And so Howie Long picked me up at the airport, because I'd known Howie for a few years, and so I go upstairs. Nobody else is there. It's in the middle of the night, except Al Davis. And Al's sitting there, goes, come on in. And he pulls out sit down, pulls out a legal pad. And he's just going, okay, this defense here, goes, what do you think we should do? And it's like he poured out his mind of football knowledge, just wanting to get some input and how I felt that it was going to go. Not that I thought that he was going to use anything that I said, but then it came down to the first practice. And I was geeked. I was with the silver and black. I wasn't in the snow. I had just extended my career for a couple more years, and everybody wants to play for the Raiders.
God, we hear that so often, don't we?
Yeah. Absolutely. And so I'm coming off the field after the first practice, and I got this big grin on my face. And I'm walking up, and Al's standing there, as he usually did, stay and watch practice. And I go, hey, Mr. Davis, how you doing? And he looked at me, and he said, how am I doing? How am I doing? I ain't won a Super Bowl I ain't won a blankety-blank Super Bowl since '84. How the blank do you think I'm doing?
I always feel like these meetings with Al Davis had to feel like you were in some kind of mafia movie and you were about to get whacked. That's how everybody talks about these movies. Like, they just weren't prepared for whatever was about to come out of that room.
If he smiles, you know you're going to get whacked.
That's what you. I know.
He wouldn't. Say, well, I don't know if he smiled or not. Maybe he laughed at us behind our backs or something. I don't know. But the guy was intense. Came out one time on the field and he goes, "I want you to play in the back side of the center on this one and do this." And as soon as he got done talking to me, some of the coaches ran out and they go, "What do you say? What do you say?" He goes, sometimes we have to go in and fix things. And he goes, well, they wanted me to play backside of the back shoulder of the center instead of the front side. And he goes, oh, okay, well, we're going to put that in next week. But I guess if he wants to do it, then we'll do it. And I'm like, who's running this thing?
We're speaking to NFL great Bob Golic, of course, of the Cleveland Browns, Los Angeles Raiders, New England Patriots, who drafted you.
Yeah, we kind of forget about that one.
Yeah, I know, especially since you went to the silver and black.
They were going to have some kind of alumni thing for the first year ever, and I didn't get down there just because I don't think anybody remembers I was there. I was drafted by him,
yeah,
but I don't think anybody remembers that I was picked by.
You just send back a card that says Tuck Rule.
Oh,
that's all you got to send
exactly.
back.
Here we go.
Exactly.
Now, this season, two of your former teams, the Raiders and the Browns, are in transition years. I mean, the Browns have had just a horrible time over the last couple of years. Looked good yesterday at times and made Baker Mayfield their first pick in the draft. And, of course, the Raiders, I think, are on the crux, too, of kind of that transition year with new coach, new system, all of that. How is that for you with both those teams, and how do you think they're both going to fare this year?
Before the game in Cleveland, the game, I was thinking, being an optimist, I was saying 8-8. I mean, they're going to get 8-8 because I had never seen the team do so well in the free agents market. Mm-hmm. They had grabbed a lot of good guys that were out there. I told them they should have got Khalil Mack, but Chicago goes and does it. Boy, did he have a good game last night.
Was that incredible?
Oh, my God. But, so we got out there yesterday, and it was the Steelers, and the Steelers have a good team. They didn't have Le'Veon Bell there, but this rookie, this Connor kid, had 135 yards rushing, 57 catching, receiving yards. And we're like, Le'Veon who? I'm figuring that he got back to when they got back to the facility, Le'Veon Bell was probably there going, I'm ready to sign.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Can't be too happy about that performance.
Exactly. But I think they can. The Browns can do better.
Yeah.
Well, hold it. They were over the last 2 years. They have 1 win and 31 losses. So saying they can do better is they got a tie yesterday.
It's a low bar, right?
It's
a low bar that you have to get over.
The
losing streak ended. Somebody goes, they haven't won I heard something about the fact that you guys, the Browns, didn't win an opening game since 2004. I said, yeah, but we still didn't win an opening game.
Just didn't lose a game.
Didn't lose a game. So, but I think we got some good, talented players out there in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do well. Raiders. I was just there about a month ago up in the Napa area. We had a reunion.
Alumni,
yeah, the alumni thing, and it was so good seeing these guys, and realizing they look as crappy as I do. But it started to make me feel like that my circus mirrors that I have at home really are working well, because I didn't see that. Anyway, it was nice. And one afternoon, Gruden came over and he gave a little talk to all the guys, like, oh great, another coach talking to us. And so I went up and I was talking to him. He goes, Bobby Golic, gives me a big hug, and I'm like, what does that mean? Everything's got a meaning to it. But he goes, I talked to him for a little bit, and he's real optimistic, as he is. I mean, he seems like that kind of guy. And he's going to do whatever he has to do to make the Raiders that way. And I know that part of the thing that Al was trying to get back, and I think that Mark is in the same vein, same type of thing, is the the mystique.
Yeah,
correct.
And because I know my last couple of years with the Raiders, it was we'd be doing interviews and Al would say, we got to talk about the mystique. And I started thinking, mystique, you can't just have mystique. You gotta. It's not the color of the uniform. It's the attitude of the players. And the guys in the old days had the attitude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were nuts. They would go and sneak out after curfew. Not that that's mystique. Throwing up on the field is mystique.
But that was the mentality of the team.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times players will take on the personality of their head coach, the guy that's leading the team. That was true in the case of John Madden, where he kind of let these guys be renegades and do what they wanted to do. And now you have this real fiery personality in Jon Gruden, a guy who originally was hired by Al Davis, was an Al Davis guy. The Chucky, the whole thing that comes with Gruden, I think now you have a chance to see these guys take on a little different personality with Gruden leading the way.
And thank God I didn't call him Chucky when I saw him. Hey, Chucky! Oh, sorry.
He calls himself Chucky sometimes,
Does he really?
which I find very interesting. But we have a frequent guest on our show is Phil Villapiana, who's you talk about somebody who still acts like they're 25.
That's mystique right there.
Oh, man.
Exactly. And so, but all of you guys that had played in the Raider uniform before that, I think one of the things that I recognized and saw that they were doing up in camp was taking some of the alumni, bringing them into the younger guys, so they understood the history, the lineage that was Raider football.
Yeah, the part of the problem is just the way the NFL goes now, in the sense of the big money, the free agency, the movement between teams. It's when I played for Cleveland, I was there 7 years, and in those 7 years, I think nine of the same guys were starting on defense for all 7 years.
Wow, amazing.
And we knew our guys that had babies, the families had babies, we ate at people's houses, and there was the camaraderie wasn't just, hey, we're wearing the same color uniform. We were buddies, and we did a lot of stuff together, and it was just a great feeling. I don't know that you can get that same thing when you're moving around as much as they are with free agency, full free agency. Not saying it's worse or it's a bad thing, because it's what it is, and you got to make the best of what you have.
Different business now than it used to be.
Yeah. But I think that putting your, and don't get me wrong, there's going to be guys out there who are going to, they're still going to play hard and they're going to go and do this. Some guys are going to play for themselves for the next contract, but that always happened. And I think as long as you get guys working hard and they're getting out there, and I think you can get that same thing, and I don't know. I think that's part of when I talked about mystique. I think that was part of it. I think that when you heard the stories of Lyle and Matuzak and all these knuckleheads, it was, that was just a group of people there that just got along, knew each other, and it was a great time.
Yeah. Now, Bob, one of the things when we have former players on, people love to know what you're up to now. Let people know what you're doing with your time.
Yeah, I just got indicted on a. No, I'm just kidding.
We have an attorney, one of our sponsors here. He can help you out.
All right, all right. You know, I'm a writer. We're supposed to be committing crimes, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that the old
the mystique
thing? Yeah, the mystique. You know what? I think they can get the mystique back. I joke about it, but I know that's I don't want not a focus of it, but they would love to have that feel back again. As far as what I'm doing now, I'm back in the Cleveland area. My kids are just finished. Everybody's except one kid in college. He was at Ohio State. I don't know why he didn't go to Notre Dame.
What's up with that?
And we're not even going to go there. He's still grounded, and it's his junior year. But at one time I used to do sports talk out in Los Angeles for a number of years, and whenever I got a story coming up about somebody, some domestic violence or something, I would usually bring somebody else in and talk to them, like a sociologist or a professor from one of the, and I really loved it. My wife goes, you should do some of these like real things. I mean, not real, but the stuff beyond sports. You know, try. So I went back there, and they had a station that was coincidentally looking for something just like that. So
nice.
I've been doing that about 12 years. But then I also do the Browns pregame show for our CBS affiliate out there, and post-game show, and anything else anybody wants me. I'll whore myself out. I mean, I'll go and enjoy.
Now, Bob, we had a listener who saw that you're going to be on the show.
Yeah.
And he wrote in wondering if there's going to be a sequel to Saved by the Bell, Married in Vegas. Since you're here, they wondered if you were out here to make the sequel.
I wasn't supposed to say anything. I can either confirm or deny.
Now, I didn't watch Saved by the Bell. I'm a little older than that. This guy.
Oh.
So I was a teenager in the 90s,
okay.
So yeah, I grew up watching.
It was
Saved by the
perfect.
Bell
It was perfect timing for you.
No more acting,
Yeah,
though? You're not going to do any more acting? If it came up, you might?
Well, I mean, if it comes up. But after a year of Saved by the Bell, the college years, I just said, this is like the greatest job. You sit around, you talk, you act, you do this. You don't work that hard. Nobody hits each other. And when you're done with the game, you go out and you come back the next day and sit there and read a script again. So I'm thinking, and they pay you. I'm thinking this is very cool, but it only lasted one season.
Yep.
Yeah.
I went during the off season. I guess after I got fired. After the show went away, it was off season.
Yeah.
I still talk about locker rooms and when they're not. They're like auditions. They're tryouts, auditions. But there was a show that somebody wanted, and I don't remember the premise of the show, but they gave me the sides to the lines that I would need for the audition, and the description of the character said a mid to late 30s ex-NFL player type, like Bob Golic or Lyle Alzado.
No way.
How did you not get this part?
I don't know.
They were basically looking for you.
I don't think they knew who Bob Golic and Lyle Alzado was.
Somebody just threw a name out there.
Yeah, so I went in there, and he goes, well, thank you very much. And I'm like, can I come back as Lyle? But when I saw that, it was just, I heard about the business. I mean, it's one of those things where you're constantly looking for something to do, and unless you get lucky and find a big deal. So I figured if something pops up, hey, I'll be I used to think I'll be the leading man. Now I'm like somebody's dad.
Yeah, that's all right.
Hallmark movies. Hallmark movies.
There you go.
My goal now is a Hallmark Christmas movie. So if I can do it again, I was going to be, when I first started dreaming about it, I was going to be the love interest. But now I'm going to be the dad.
Snowy backdrop in South Bend.
There you go.
Yeah.
On the dome.
See?
That's right.
Now, if they were to, we always talk, when we talk to Phil, we always say, how have they not made a movie about the Raiders? And a couple different of the eras, because there's so many great characters like yourself. Who would play you in the movie? The young you.
I'll do it.
Look at your shape. You'd have to add weight. You'd have to be like De Niro, where he gains all the weight.
I'd have to get a stunt runner, mover, hitter, somebody to do everything. I got a stable of guys right here. He runs for me. He tackles for me.
They're doing great things with CGI now.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all right. So I don't know. I was going to say Mel Gibson, but he's worse off than I am.
Well, I still think, though, that era, I mean, even as you got towards the end of your career in the early 90s, players, it's different today, like you said. It doesn't mean it's worse or better. It's just different. And I think personalities are much different because it's much, even for the individual player, it's much more a business than it was.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's things that I see that, and I don't want to sound like the old guy that's complaining back when I played, but I watch, and again, it's not that it's just different.
Right.
Guys make us, you know, a guy sacks the quarterback, and he gets up and he basically beats the crap out of his teammates to get out in the open so he can do his dance all by himself.
Right.
Away. I mean, I just remember us grabbing each other and just congratulating together. But now it's the era of get out on your own, find an open space, and do your thing.
Yes.
And again, it's what it is. It's not anything good or bad, but it just felt like that was always something that was part of the deal of being together, part of the deal of being a teammate.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Little more of a kind of a me show at this point, look at me kind of thing, and you see, like you mentioned, jumping out the sack dances, signaling first down.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say it's your job to get out there and do those things. Scoring a touchdown, celebrate, I'm all on board with that. Getting a first down, just keep the chains moving, jump back in the huddle, and keep the play going,
and I'll tell you what, there's some guys, too, they got to know, as a great American philosopher once said, a man's got to know his limitations. That was Clint Eastwood.
Yes, sir.
And some of these guys, they get up and are really big now, and some of the guys are, I would say, a little overweight. They just need some ballast. And I saw one guy get up one time, and he just came out, and he was really heavy. And he started doing the sack dance, and all I could think about was the night before Christmas. Shook when it laughed like a bull. And I'm thinking, you know, I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be doing a sack dance. I'd be doing it in the middle of the group of guys.
Yeah, covering up a little
coverage, right?
Exactly.
Because gravity is there.
Right. Like when I'm at dancing was out there and at a wedding or something.
Yeah.
I don't go out there until there's lots of people.
Bob Golic, I want to thank you for joining us. Oh, one more quick question.
Sure.
How are the Irish going to fare? What do you think? Looking good so far, although you just don't know. It's been such a long road to get back. But Brian Kelly, it looks like this group has a chance to really do something special.
I think they do. I was watching. I saw some of the game against Ball State, and I guess everybody does that now. They give the other team, the small team, $1 million, and you know what it's like? It's like the old heavyweights. So when they would heavyweight boxers. And they would hire these, what do they call them, tomato cans?
Tomato cans, that's right.
To go in there to beat them up and to pad their records. And I think that it's not that it's bad, it's just different.
It's money.
I think that and I think that it's something that allows these guys to pad their record. Mm-hmm. But I mean, with the way they do the national championship now, you got to have the numbers. I mean, it's all become of that. When we did it, we had the AP poll, we had the UPI poll, we had Football News poll, and it was a matter of guys at those places going, you know what, I think they should be number one. Oh, I think they should be number one. So the 77, we ended up beating Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and Lou Holtz's Arkansas team beat Schwitzer's Oklahoma team, and after Holtz had suspended and kicked out of the game 5 guys for grades. I'm going, oh, great. That's great time for doing that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But they went out and beat them, and the next day we sat around and they just came, well, in our judgment, they all picked us number one.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's different. But now, like you said, it's the numbers, and you got to kind of do what you can.
I didn't wear my Green Machine T-shirt. But, Bob, I want to thank you for joining us. And I know you'll be back, hopefully, more in Las Vegas as the team gets closer. You're already doing a lot here. I want to thank you for joining the Silver and Black today.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bob.
Great having you.
Bob Golic.
I got to get a Raider shirt.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. There you go. Bob Golic has joined us here on the Silver and Black today. That's right. Give him a round of applause. Oh, we'll get a picture here. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
CBS Sports Radio. This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gulbransen.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m., streaming exclusively on radio.com. We are at the Las Vegas Superbook here at the Westgate Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, and we are here for the Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party. Got Raider fans all over the place getting ready for the Monday night kickoff.
Filling
as
up
the
here,
Raiders,
man.
Oh, it's filling up, getting ready for the Raiders and the Rams. It was awesome. We just had Bob Golic on. It was a great conversation to talk to somebody like Bob. Not only a great player, but great personality. We appreciate that. And coming up next here in just a few minutes, we're going to have Jerry Porter, receiver for the Raiders. And again, we are Silver and Black Today. You can listen to us Sunday mornings from 8 to 10 a.m. on CBS Sports Radio 1140. We are the only all Raiders talk show in Las Vegas, the future home of the Raiders, Matt.
I know, man. This is fun.
And
it's still surreal.
Yeah.
And whenever I think about it, just that not only that we're getting an NFL team here, but it's the Raiders coming here. It's real, but until they take the field on that opening day in 2020, it's really not going to feel real.
That's right. And as Bob said, the mystique, right?
Yeah.
The mystique, and that's the thing I think attracts people who are Raiders fans from all over the world.
That's why it's Raider Nation, because it just that team, people gravitate towards that team. They love that team. It's like Bob mentioned, it's not just the colors, it's not just the players, it's just the history of this team and everything that comes along with it.
That's right, and you guys got to get down here. It's a great party happening. We're getting ready. The first game is on. The Jets are leading the Lions right before halftime, 17-7, despite Sam Darnold throwing that pick six to start the game.
Looks like that's all the Lions have done. I haven't paid much attention to it, but
he settled in, and somebody that Raider Nation will be very familiar with, who knows about quarterbacks and about catching balls, is, of course, former Raider great Jerry Porter. Jerry, how are you, man? Thanks for joining us.
I'm well. How are you?
Doing really good. So you're here in Las Vegas, the future home of the Raiders. You're wearing your Just Do It Oakland shirt, so, hey, it's current, so you're good. But we certainly appreciate you coming on the show. It's the beginning of the football season. Is this when you miss it?
I began missing it first off around March, when you first get back into conditioning, and then late July you start to get that itch because it's training camp time, and even though they don't do two-a-days anymore, it's that time where you feel like something's supposed to happen. It's time to play football, and then you start to see the ESPN coverage pick up even more, and it just feels like football.
Now, how excited are you for the Raiders to be coming to Las Vegas? You mentioned you live in Phoenix now, so not too far away. It's an easy drive, quick flight. Are you going to be hanging around the facility a little more once they get here?
I'm going to hopefully be around more. I'm glad that they're getting a stadium. It was tough to play. It's lovely to play for Oakland, but it was tough to play in the Coliseum because it's so... I mean, it's not the best stadium.
It's bad.
It's the nicest way I can put it. It's just not the best.
Talk about playing on that dirt infield, just for starters. That's got to be rough.
Well, we had we kind of had to. We want the A's to do well, but we kind of had to wish against the A's because if they were doing well, their season drug on into ours, and we had to have a special cleat Nike would make for us with it was a part baseball cleat, football cleat. Whereas you come off the grass and you make a cut and you're in the clay and you still got to have your traction to run out of your route. And we had that cleat. It was okay, but then if you forget to bring that cleat to the next stadium and they don't have the same type of grass, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Now, of course, when you played 2002, such a magical year for you guys up until that last point, that Super Bowl, you caught a great touchdown back of the end zone. It drove Jon Gruden nuts on the sideline. I don't think he likes to watch that much. But talk about playing that season. Rich Gannon, you had Jerry Rice with you, had Tim Brown with you. You guys were an amazing receiving corps. How special of a year was that for you as an individual and as a team?
It was honestly like the best year of football I've ever had because I felt like I finally fit in with the team and the team was doing what it was supposed to do. Whereas like most teams before where I'd been a more integral part, I'm asked to do too much and I'm doing everything all over the place and then one part of the game starts to lack. Whereas here I was only the third receiver. I come in, I block, I run good routes and be open when asked, and also block for our running game. We had a hell of a running game that year, and we had a great passing game. I think our quarterback was the league MVP. The only issue I had was with how the last game was handled, and that's a topic for another day. But that was a great year. I honestly had that was my most fun playing football.
Talk about playing with Jerry Rice and Tim Brown, 2 Hall of Famers. Jerry considered the best of all time. But as a receiver, to be on a team with guys with that much knowledge and ability in the game, what were you able to take from them?
First thing I learned was to shut up and listen. I mean, the year before we got Jerry, we had Andre Rison. He was a great influence on me. He was not faster, he's not bigger, he's not stronger than anybody, but he just found his ways to get open. And he took me under his wing, was like, look, pup. He used to call me pup. Like, this is what you do. You need to do this here, and you do this here. And then fast forward 1 year later, we get Jerry Rice in there. So I have learn from Rison, learn from Brown, learn from Rice. And all these guys are just all pros, Pro Bowlers. Count how many Pro Bowls those guys had. It's not even funny.
Right.
But to play alongside those guys and actually get in the game and contribute. As a matter of fact, I ended up stealing a bunch of the touchdowns that year. But it was just a fun time to play with those guys.
Sorry. Bob
No,
Golic,
beat him up over there.
Bob Golic's got Matt's dad in a headlock.
Dad abuse.
That's all right. Beat him up.
So now playing for the Raiders, we ask almost every player we talk to about an Al Davis story. Tell us an Al Davis story for you. You know, they all seem to be so unique in their own. One you can tell on the air, of course.
Okay, this is the most PC one we have.
Okay.
Okay, we were my rookie year. We did the rookie symposium, and I was a second-round pick, but he took a kicker first. So it was like, can this guy play? And I don't know if it was a knock because I played defense in college a lot.
Yeah.
So the question was, can I get off the line and bump and run? So at the end of the symposium, we were down in San Diego for the symposium. They had the NFL pays for your flights to get there and go back to your respective city. So I was supposed to leave San Diego and fly back to the East Coast. I'm from D.C., but I was going to be flying back to Morgantown, West Virginia. Al Davis was like, I want to see him get off the press. There was no DBs around, not a single one. They asked the trainers, like, I've never played defense before in my life. So he called Willie Brown down from Willie Brown's position.
Wow.
And flew me back. I scoffed at the idea. He was like, fly back, I want to see you today. I'm like, man, you see me in training camp. I didn't have a contract at the time. He was like, I see you in training camp. But he was like, I want you to fly back to Oakland. So he had the entire training staff come in. I came in, taped my ankles, and I did 3 releases on Willie Brown. Hall of Famer Willie Brown.
Yeah.
An outside release, an inside release, and a go route release. And the thing I remember most about it was Willie Brown broke my hookah shells. I had the nice little shells on my neck, and I had my nice little island look going on, a nice tan, and looking like I've been on the beach working out all year. And he tried to jam me and missed. I can say I got off a jam from Hall of Fame. He missed and snatched my puka shells off, and that was it.
Well, Willie played in an era where you can maul wide receivers. You know what I mean?
Now you got to politely ask him, can I jam you?
Yeah, even tackle him at this point, you got to ask first. Yeah.
I might get 1,500 yards in the first 2 games with this.
Oh, easily. There was no saying no to Al Davis. Is basically what you're saying there. If he needed you or wanted you to do something, it was happening.
Needed or expected you to be somewhere, it was in your best interest to be there.
Yeah, it wasn't optional, was it?
No.
We're talking, of course, to Jerry Porter, former Raider, great wide receiver. So, Jerry, tell us what you're up to now. I mean, you have such a great voice. You got to get into broadcasting, right? Are you trying to do that at all, or what's the deal?
My deal is I went so much time away from the game. I'm trying to get myself back into the game. I'd like to get it back into coaching. And then ultimately get into broadcasting. It's something I want to do. I think I see the game differently than the average person, and I feel like I could lend a different insight to people watching the game.
Let me ask you about that. You played in this Jon Gruden style offense. What are we going to see differently from the Raiders this year, specifically Derek Carr and his receivers that we haven't seen up to this point?
Well, I know that Jon Gruden is very veteran friendly. I know that Jordy Nelson should have a great year with him. As long as Derek Carr is willing to work as hard as Jon Gruden wants him to work, he should have a great year. He's a very quarterback-friendly coach. He almost leans on the quarterback a lot, almost to a fault. When you know how he and Rich Gannon were.
Right.
Now, if he can get that same rapport with Derek Carr, and he kind of gets that left and right side of the brain thing working, like he knows what he's expecting and goes out and does that, there's no limit to what the team can do, because you have the young Amari Cooper, Seth Roberts, he makes plays in the slots, and they tried to replace him, and he just fought his way through. You have Jordy Nelson over there, and he's done countless things with Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback. It's just interesting to see. I'm optimistic, but I want to see how the younger player deals with a coach like Gruden, because he can be a bit abrasive and he leans on you, and it's kind of tiresome, but if you love football, it'll be great for you.
Now, what about Amari Cooper? I mean, here's a guy really, really talented. Everybody's been expecting, sometimes probably unrealistic expectations when he was first in the league. What does he need to do in that system to take that next step to become one of those elite wide receivers?
In Jon Gruden's system, it's a rapport with all the receivers and the quarterback. Like when I was with Rich Gannon, Rice, and Brown, it was a hand signal, an eye look, a check that we all saw in film, and here's that situation that we expected. Here it is right here. This is what I need you to do. And it doesn't have to be said. We know it. So it's kind of like one of those things where they all have to be on the same page at all times, because there's not a hot – it's tough to say. You can't say there's not like a hot route, but there's expectations and quick throws that have to be like, you have to be like brain and brain thinking. Like, you have to know what this quarterback is thinking. You have to know that I see what he sees, and this is what we expect, and we have to be all on the same page. If that works, it will be a nasty, dangerous offense.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say I'm looking forward to that. That Rich Gannon and Jon Gruden pairing worked so well, I think, because they were able to get in that film room. I mean, it seemed 24/7. The stories of Gruden getting in there before light, and then Gannon meeting him there beforehand. I mean, that's what you need from Carr and Gruden at this point. And now you're saying you expect the receivers to be in there just as early, working just as hard.
Working just as hard, not in there just as early, because the quarterback, he's seeing O-line, making O-line checks for run game and passing game. The receivers were only responsible for blocking the most dangerous person coming down if the situation calls for it, but knowing the checks and the blitz, seeing the blitz coming, and knowing how to adapt to what's expected. So they don't have to be there as much, but they have to work. It's a Gruden grinder. You have to grind it out. It is a grind process. So.
It's a mind reading game, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's really tough, because the CBA doesn't allow for the amount of time that we had back in the day. We used to start in like the first week of March and just go on basically until the end of June, and then pick right back up late July. Now these guys, they don't come in until like May, and that's like 2 months that they missed out on things like this.
I think you see it early in the season now. Now, if you were playing today, who's the defensive back you'd want to go up against out of the top guys out there right now?
There's some good guys out there. I like Patrick Peterson. He's a bigger guy, but I like going against bigger guys. But just to hear his mouth, I'd like to go against him. I'd have to hear it. I mean, I don't really talk back because I'm always out of breath, because I run hard all the time. But I'd really like to see Jalen Ramsey in coverage. He's a talker, and he's a damn good player.
Okay.
Who's the toughest guy you faced out there?
Samari Rolle.
Really?
Samari Rolle.
Wow.
Samari Rolle. I've been asked that question quite a few times in the past couple weeks, and Samari was one of those difficult guys. In Tennessee, the coverages they played, it was a lot of single high safety with 3 deep on man, and it was tough to differentiate when they first at the snap of the ball, and then once you get on top of him, you're trying to feel where he is. You can't feel where he is, and you think you're open, and he just swoops in and makes a play on the ball. So he was one of my tougher ones, because he was just as quick as I was, and always in the right spot.
All right. Well, Jerry, want to thank Jerry Porter, former Raider great. And just thanks. Good to see you, man. It was great to have you here. Hope to see you more on Las Vegas.
Yes.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Jerry Porter has been our guest here at the Las Vegas Superbook at the Westgate Hotel and Casino. You're listening to the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
CBS Sports Radio.
This is Shalik Calhoun with the Oakland Raiders, and you're listening to Silver and Black today.
All right, we are back here at the Westgate Hotel Casino Resort in Las Vegas. Spent a lot of my college days here, Matt, in the sports book.
I'm sure you did.
I told you that
Scott.
story,
yeah,
didn't I?
back
Yeah.
when there were just tables and chairs, I think. Yeah.
Get off my lawn, I'm the old guy. Anyway, we are back here for the killer Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party as the Raiders get ready to take on the Rams in Monday Night Football, kick off the season for Oakland. Could be their last year in Oakland, maybe?
Yeah, man. I think for sure last year in the Coliseum. I don't think that's going to play out next season the way that they hope it will.
That's right. So just a fantastic first hour having Bob Golic and Jerry Porter come on and talk football with them.
It was great to talk to Porter, man. I was such a big Porter fan. I loved receivers when I was a kid. I played receiver in high school, so Tim Brown was always my favorite. And then when Rice came over, Porter's on the team, man. That was cool. That was a good time.
Well, and you go back to the early 2000s when Jerry Porter played. His size.
He's big, isn't he?
He's a big guy.
Big receiver.
Even still to this day, I told him he looked like he could go back out there and play right now, as so many of these guys do who keep in shape even after they play. But and that catch in the Super Bowl, I mean, the Raiders were down 34-9 or 34-3 at that point.
Still a catch in my opinion. Gruden will disagree.
Yes.
I think it was a catch.
I think it was a catch.
I say
too.
catch.
I watched
the
it
record
last
books
night.
say it was a catch.
That's right. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Put it on the board. It was a score. So that was fun to talk to him about that, and also to get his thoughts a little bit about receivers today and what's happening, and hear what he said about Amari Cooper, and insight into Gruden and how he handles veterans versus younger players. And so you get some insight there on what we might see with the first year back of Jon Gruden.
Well, we knew Gruden was a quarterback guy. I mean, just based on his relationship with Gannon alone, you knew what kind of coach he was when it came to quarterbacks. But then you've seen him in film and things like that really ride those quarterbacks in Tampa Bay. And truth be told, he never really had I wouldn't even say great quarterback. He never really had a good quarterback when he was in Tampa Bay. It was a bunch of kind of second, third tier type quarterbacks out there. Now he has an elite caliber quarterback in Oakland, and you're going to see that relationship, I think, really build. And you may see statistically Carr's best year this year, just based on the type of system that he's going to be in and the way that he has to work with Gruden.
Well, before we went on there, I asked you a specific question, right? I said, can Derek Carr throw for 36 touchdowns this year? And what did you say?
I think he can. I think that, and again, you heard Jerry talk about it. Gruden is a quarterback-friendly coach. He leans on his quarterbacks, and he expects his quarterbacks to be, a second coach out there on the field for him. And Derek Carr is one of those guys that gets out there. He grinds, like he said, Gruden grinder. He get out there and grind. And he's a gym rat. He's a film rat. He wants to work as hard, if not harder, than anybody out there, and he's going to put that time in to learn this system. And I think you're going to see him have more freedom this year than he had last year. I mentioned it yesterday on the show. He was really handcuffed last year in that offense. That offense wasn't tailor-made for any one player. It was kind of like they tried to shoehorn a system in that didn't really work, and they didn't give him the freedom to go out there and play call.
Well, and I think you've called it vanilla in the past. I don't think it was even vanilla. I think it was flavorless completely. And
it didn't have an identity.
It didn't have an identity, and you had a coach who didn't have a lot of experience, I think, that didn't have confidence in what he was calling. But the reason I asked about Derek Carr and the 36 touchdown passes is if Carr can get 36 touchdown passes this year, he will pass Peyton Manning for second most passing scores in NFL history through a player's first 5 seasons. So that shows you where Derek Carr is. There's still a lot of doubters out there about Derek Carr, but I think in this system, I expect Marshawn Lynch to have a big year because of that system.
Those numbers, everybody talks about those numbers nowadays being skewed, and we asked Jerry about playing against those defenses back then and the bump and run and stuff, and how much more wide open it is now. And you do see some inflated numbers, but you don't see everybody on that list. The only current guys you see are Russell Wilson and Derek Carr. Yeah. And then you have Peyton Manning and Dan Marino. I mean, those are 3 different eras of football right there, and Derek Carr is on that list for this era of football. So you have to step back and go, wow, he's really doing some special things, even though it hasn't necessarily translated into the wins and losses that Raider Nation hopes you would see outside of the 2016 season. He is still doing some special things as a quarterback, and now he's going to be in a quarterback-friendly system that I think is really going to allow him to excel. It
is. Again, we are out here at the Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party at to me, the best sports venue in Las Vegas, and that, of course, is the Las Vegas Superbook here at the Westgate Hotel Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. The future home of the Raiders. They might be Oakland now, but they will be the Las Vegas Raiders.
Why are the Dodgers losing to the Reds, by the way? What is happening?
I'm sorry, who?
I don't understand what's going on.
The Dodgers, who you can hear on CBS Sports Radio 1140 right now, as a matter of fact. You can put, if you want to drive
what's going on
your significant other crazy, put on the Raiders show you're listening to now on radio.com, and then on CBS Sports Radio on your radio, listen to the Dodgers. You can hear us.
It's a lot going on.
It's a lot going on. But that's okay. But we are here. You should come on down. It's definitely the place to be tonight if you're a Raider fan and if you want to watch the Raiders take on the Rams. And we have a couple more minutes here till we hit the top of the hour, and then when we come back, we're going to delve deep into the game and talk about what the Raiders have to do to have a chance. And I'm gonna be skeptical, folks. We're a Raiders show, but the reality is I don't see the Raiders winning this game.
You know where I stand on this one. We'll get into it.
We're going to get into that here in the next hour as well, and we'll talk about not only the matchups that I think are key, but also a little bit of how this coaching tree came together from the Grudens on down with McVay. So we're going to step aside for a break, and when we come back, we'll preview Rams versus Raiders. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
Coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gulbransen and Matt Gutierrez.
Welcome back. We are here, Silver and Black today, for the Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party at the Westgate Hotel Resort and Casino in Las Vegas at the Superbook. And when I say Superbook, Matt, is there any question that this is a Superbook?
No, this is great. You have 3 huge TVs right now going on with the football game, the Jets and the Lions. Big gain there for the Lions, which is good because I got Stafford on my fantasy team. So I need some points here, man.
You're not watching the harness racing?
I was earlier. Man, that's a weird thing. They started off with a car and a gate, and they're all running together. Then the gate folds up, and the car takes off. It's a weird gig right there.
Well, I'll tell you, the first Monday night game of the evening is on the Lions and the Jets. The Jets are up 17-10, 13-27 left in the third. Of course, everyone here is waiting for the Raider game. And if you're going to bet the game, come down here. I mean, it's not like there's lines around the block where you can't get to the window and get your bet in. You definitely want to do that and get down here. The party is started. It's doing really well. Folks are having a bunch of time. You can hear the yelling.
Touchdown Lions.
As the Lions just scored a touchdown. And, of course, it's a Golden Domer, my friend.
Yeah, your boy Golden Tate.
I
didn't see it, but I'm assuming that was a pass.
Yeah, and
he didn't take like an end around or something, right? I need points. Come on, Stafford. I need points here.
By the way, could the head coach of the Lions, Matt Patricia, look any sloppier? I mean,
no. Come on. He comes from the Bill Belichick school of dress code.
I mean, he looks
disastrous.
He looks messier than our chief engineer's Kelly's plate of nachos.
Those nachos are good.
Those are good nachos. Those are good nachos. But, no, that was a nice run, actually. But we're here. You got to come down, enjoy the party. Come by the CBS Sports Radio 1140 AM booth. Say hello to our folks. Grab some free gear and some magnets. We got all kinds of stuff going on here. I don't think that beer's free there, but you can get a beer here at the bar if you're 21, of course. But come on down. Yeah, it was fun.
I'm 21. Where's mine?
Yeah. You're 21?
I'm of age. I'm a little older than 21 at this point.
Luckily, in case you get in trouble, Matt, we have now joining us attorney Michael Troiano. Michael, what's up, bud, man?
Hey, how's it going?
That was a hell of a segue right there, wasn't it? Wow. That was good stuff.
I try sometimes.
He knows what he's doing.
Michael is, of course, our in-house legal expert, and if you need help with any kind of criminal matters, from the smallest to the most egregious. I shouldn't say egregious. It's not egregious. Yeah, egregious?
Egregious.
Yeah, unless, well, if they're guilty of it. If they're innocent, it's not so egregious, right? They're just accused.
It could be egregious if they're bringing false charges.
There you go. See? That's why this guy is the hottest young attorney in town. But, Michael, you are our legal expert, and we talked about some legal issues on the show yesterday. But what I want to talk about today is you're also a football fan. So here we are at the Superbook for Monday Night Football. What did you like that you saw yesterday in the NFL? It was a busy day. I mean, was it the Browns or was it?
Oh, yeah.
No.
That was a
horrendous 3.5 hours of my life that I can never get back as a football fan and as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Just bad football all around. I don't know who to feel more sorry for, Steeler fans such as myself that couldn't beat the lowly Browns and Big Ben coughing it up 5 different times, or the Browns fans that still couldn't get the W. I mean,
you got to rub it in, don't you?
I probably tweeted out 5 or 6 times yesterday. Such a Browns way to fill in the blank. It's just this team is so. I said it yesterday. The most snake-bitten team I've ever seen in my life. They just continuously find a way not to lose, to not even win. They didn't lose yesterday. Didn't even win.
Absolutely, and I felt bad, too, because Steelers kicker Boswell got a huge contract just recently within the last couple weeks, and I just knew it. I saw it. I got up, just signed his brand-new contract. He's in the top tier now of kickers being paid, and here we go.
Couldn't get it down.
To stop. They just need to stop worrying about Le'Veon Bell and his money. He'll show up on Week 10. He'll hopefully have some production in the playoffs, and he'll move on, and somebody like the Browns will overpay him, and it'll be the end of that story.
Well, that's the last thing you want is to see him in the AFC North, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a special player.
Yeah.
He's amazing to watch. He can do anything that you ask him to do on the field, go out in the slot, run from the back. But he was a little bit of a knucklehead, let's be honest. He started 2 years in a row basically off of suspension for different things. Smoking blunts with LeGarrette Blount is not
ironically
is not how the Rooneys like to do business. So I wish him well, and hopefully he'll show up for Week 10 to accrue his final year, and the Steelers can bounce back after Week 1's disaster.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure James Conner will have a lot of people forgetting about Le'Veon Bell as far as yesterday's performance. He did great. I mean, he looked good. I mean, I'm not sure he's a long-term solution there for the Steelers, but he had a great game.
Well, he was a third-round pick, so it's not as if they found the kid off the streets. He battled back from cancer. He probably could have been a second or first round without, that sort of tragedy being involved with his life. But no, I have no illusions as a Steeler fan or an NFL fan that he's going to come in and supplant what Le'Veon Bell is. But at the same time, he's not there, and that offensive line was built for Big Ben's protection and for a solid running game.
Speaking of Big Ben, he looked big yesterday. He looked big and lumbering and slow and just did not seem to, has it finally caught up with him? I mean, being a big quarterback like that, it just made me, watching him, it didn't seem to be the Ben Roethlisberger most people are accustomed to.
Well, this is why I barely watch the preseason unless I have a team who's got a new rookie quarterback, and then it may be interesting. But a lot of reports out of camp, he looks skinny, looked the best, and he's not a male model. He's Big Ben. He's just a large human being that can shed tackles. I don't think he's done by any sense, and this may sound weird, but I've been watching him since day one. I just saw it in his eyes early, and I don't know if he had a bad weekend or what was going on, because usually he goes into Ohio and dominates, but it just wasn't there. It was a horrible game. It's a throwaway game. He'll be back. He'll have a good year. I mean, he's a warrior.
I agree with you in the sense that he's not done, because Ben is one of those guys that's kind of built for the long haul, right? And he's not a guy that's going to get out and run. His elusiveness comes from his size and his ability to step out of tackles from 275-pound defensive ends coming around the edge. He still has the arm. He still has the ability. Just like you said, that was a bad game. It was an ugly game.
Yeah, and 2 of the interceptions weren't really his fault. One bounced off the hands of one of the receivers, and the other one to Antonio Brown, that was just a trust thing. They have great trust. Brown's the best in the game, in my opinion. He saw that he had a beat on the receiver, and he just threw an air ball and said, get it. He did it, and that was the risk that he took. But it wasn't as if he was missing the coverage. He just made a shot at it.
And we are talking to Michael Troiano. We are here on Silver and Black today from the Las Vegas Superbook at the Westgate Hotel Resort and Casino for the Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party down here. You got to get down here. It's fun. Speaking of Antonio Brown, Michael, Antonio Brown, 9 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown yesterday. Brown has 10,003 receiving yards in 116 career games. That ties Torrey Holt for the second fewest games to reach 10,000 receiving yards in NFL history.
Greatest show on turf.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Man, so, those teams are fun to watch.
Only Calvin Johnson reached the milestone in fewer.
They're fun to watch and fun to play on Madden.
Yeah, that's right, Matt.
And Calvin Johnson is only 1 game less, right?
That's right.
115, I think. Yeah.
1 game less. So it shows you
Brown's
the kind of
special.
talent.
He's special, man. That guy, he's unbelievable to watch. You can't cover him. And even if you are covering him, he seems to make the play.
He, 6th-round pick. I mean, it's just amazing what he's done in his career. But back to Calvin real quick. I remember the very first game that I watched him at Georgia Tech, and they're known for their great pedigree of wide receivers, right? With I'm joking, the 3-man option there, the triple option, excuse me. But he was playing a game against Pitt. It was the first game of the year, and he just stood out. It was kind of like the first time I saw Cam at Auburn. I'm like, whoa, this guy's a pro, just a man among boys at the college level.
He should have been a Raider. Jamarcus Russell. Drafted
who?
Before Calvin Johnson.
Purple drink.
Wow. Purple drink.
Still unbelievable. The first time you get a number 1 overall pick in forever. And you take that guy.
Don't ever drink.
Could have had Megatron.
Don't ever drink and drive, but if you have too much purple drink and you get in trouble, Michael Troiano,
Purple drink.
Michael Troiano, attorney at law, TroianoVegasLaw.com. is the place to go. So, and we're talking to Michael now, who's a big football fan. All right, so Michael, you are in transition, and no, I don't mean from male to female. I mean from
the black and gold
to the black and silver. So Pittsburgh, and Michael's told us on a show that once Ben Roethlisberger does retire, which will be next year, you're going to be ready to become Raider fans. You got your Raiders season tickets in this new stadium. For the folks who are listening to us for the first time tonight, talk about the experience of going down to that preview center and seeing the model and seeing the virtual reality of your seats and all that. How was that?
Well, it felt like the fruits of a long labor. I remember putting that $100 down deposit. It seemed like 6 years ago, but it was more about 18 months. It was great. It was a good experience. Basically, the way that it worked is one of our friends got the call, and they said, hey, if you have other friends that are on the list, have them call in, verify, and we can get you guys all set up on the same appointment. And that's what we did because we wanted to get as close as we could where everybody getting kind of what they wanted. So they brought us in, real professional staff, just beautiful in there, a lot of Raider history, the pictures. The mixture between the Vegas and the Raiders history is what it's all about, and they presented that real well and showed you different options for the kind of virtual viewing of where your seat's going to be, explaining the benefits of where you're sitting and what you can get out of it, and it just felt like a bunch of kids on Christmas morning. We were ready to go.
What do you think of that stadium?
I mean, world class. I don't know really how else to put it. The way that they were describing just all the extra amenities, the extra room and the hallways, because you guys have all been to a lot of games. There's certain stadiums that they're fun and they're historic, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you're just so on top of each other. I like that concourse they've got with the eternal flame, so that's going to be towards my backside there when we're sitting at near the end zone. It's good, and the thing about it is it's new, it's beautiful, and it'll be time for the Vegas Raiders to create those memories and make that history in there.
Now, you've seen the coverage that we and others have had around parking.
Yes.
And how it's going to be. You're an official season ticket holder now. Of course, you can't sit there for 2 years, but you're an official season ticket holder. Does that bother you at all?
No, because I have zero intention of driving to a game. I mean, let's be honest here. I plan on jumping on one of the buses, kind of like they do for the Knights games, and or taking an Uber down. It just really depends on what your day plans, evening plans are. I've talked to some friends, and we're thinking we're going to try to circle one date or one game during the year that we get a hotel, get the wives together, kind of do the staycation, go down and make it a whole experience as if it is a little mini vacation in and of itself. And I can understand some of the more traditional fans that want to do some of the tailgating. There's going to be issues like that, but being born and raised here, it's just something that you've accepted that public transportation isn't the best option, and I'll jump in an Uber. I'll take one of the cat buses that'll take us straight down there, and I'm sure they'll get me home in due time.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we've talked to Tommy a little bit about this as well. That what do you want to call it? The warehouse district that's around it, essentially. Right. We think, and we're all in agreement, that eventually that will become a very commercialized area, full game day experience down there with bars and restaurants, a lot like you see in places like Seattle. It's a great area down there before a game. But it'll be tailgating in a different way. I think that's the thing that a lot of Raiders fans are going to struggle with early on, especially those that are in the Bay Area still, is it's going to be a little different here than what you're used to, but it's still going to be great.
That's right. Michael, man, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
I love having you here because I think Matt's going to get in trouble tonight when the game starts. Have you seen this guy watch a game yet?
No,
Oh,
but
man.
I grew up in a diehard Steelers fandom home. I've experienced.
You've experienced
Probably not a whole
emotion.
lot different, man.
TroianoVegasLaw.com is where you can find Michael if you have a need for it. I want to thank you again for joining us, one of our great sponsors here as well. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, you're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
Wildfires burn millions of acres across the country each year. And each year, wildland firefighters battle to contain them. But they can't do it alone. For some communities, it's not a question of if wildfires strike, but when. And a single ember can travel more than 1 mile. As it twists and turns and floats through the air, that single ember can find its way to where you live and can ignite and destroy your home or your community. That single ember can be just as dangerous as the wall.
CBS Sports Radio.
Help us talk the Silver and Black. Call us at 702-889-5978. Here's Matt Gutierrez and your host, Scott Gulbransen, on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
All right, we're back here at the Westgate Hotel Resort Casino in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Superbook for Monday Night Football, and more importantly, for the beginning of the Oakland Raiders season, the future Las Vegas Raiders as they get set to take on the Los Angeles Rams. I'm Scott Gulbransen. Everybody, thanks for joining us on radio.com. You can hear our show over the air and on radio.com every Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. We talk nothing but Raiders football, and occasionally we talk about Matt's perfectly manicured hair. But other than that, it's open, and so you're not wearing a hat tonight, man. So we can talk about it.
Can we talk about how Stafford is destroying my life in fantasy football right now? 3 interceptions. What is this guy doing?
Oh boy,
you're at home in the dome. Come on, man.
The Jets are, and our co-host friend Tony Kardasco, who you were on Sports Adrenaline with from 8 to 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings. Don't miss that show either. That's all Vegas sports all the time. All the sports, everything from the Lights to the 51s to the Raiders to the Vegas Golden Knights, who made a little bit of a trade last night.
Yeah, they did.
To also, we host the new postgame show on Sunday nights. That's the NFL postgame show called The PG, which runs from approximately usually 4 to 6 p.m. on CBS Sports Radio 1140 as well. So join us there when you can, as CBS Sports Radio continues in Las Vegas to do more live and local. Okay, so we're going to start talking Rams and Raiders now, Matt. This game is a big game in so many different ways. Of course, you have Chucky back in Oakland. You have the Raiders, after revamping their complete roster, coming out in their first home game on a Monday Night Football, and they're facing probably, without a doubt, the best team they're going to face all year, and that's the Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay.
They're going to struggle. I mean, I just don't think there's any other way to say it. New system for the Raiders, offensively and defensively. Let's start with that. They're still transitioning. They have yet to put together a full quarter of football in this new system. I mean, nobody played in the preseason, really. You have Ndamukong Suh now in the middle, along with Aaron Darnold on that defensive front. You have Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib at cornerback. Where do the Raiders find offense? And I know the Raiders' offense is going to be good this year. It's going to be explosive at times. But they're going to have to work into that, and to have a defense like this to start the year off, you have to face that kind of defense with those kinds of players on that side of the ball. It's going to be rough.
Listen, it's a sink or swim kind of game, right? So you're going to be thrown right into the mix, playing this defense. Oh,
no, keep it playing. I
got some music cued in the background.
Music all day.
Thanks to Mark Bonilla back in the studio. But we have. I mean, if you look at this too, I think this is. Win or lose, Matt, it's a big game for the Raiders because you got to see that system start to work for them with the guys they have in place. But also, it will allow you to see how are they going to handle adversity right off the bat, because it doesn't matter where you are in NFL season. You're going to face adversity. You have to overcome it. You have to get your young players to buy into what the veterans are doing. And so I'm interested to see the kind of culture, social mix there for this team.
I think when you'll be able to see that is next week in Denver. You'll have to see if this team can bounce back. Again, I'm already talking about this team like the game's over and they've lost, and they haven't even kicked off yet. I don't know where I don't know where the Raiders overall can find holes against the Rams, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah.
I think the Rams are just better from top to bottom. They have a better 53 than the Raiders do, and I think it's going to be tough for them to beat them.
Well, and you look at numbers from last year. You can only go by what you have from last year. Not completely indicative because there's been so many changes for the Rams on defense. But last year they ranked 19th in total defense. The Raiders were 23rd. Rams gave up approximately 339 yards a game. That's good. You got to throw that out because with what they've added with Ndamukong Suh, with the Peters and Talib in the backfield, and of course Aaron Donald on his fresh contract.
By the way, two corners that are very familiar with Derek Carr and Amari Cooper.
Absolutely.
They both came out of the AFC West, so it's not like they don't know what to expect from this guy.
Well, and you have the Rams too with a top 10 offense last year, and you have Todd Gurley. To me, Jared Goff, good young quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But it all begins with Todd Gurley in the backfield, and that's a guy, he's a load. So those young Raider linebackers, the young Raider defensive front, P.J. Hall, Maurice Hurst, as they cycle in, Bruce Irvin, of course, Arden Key, all those guys are going to get they're all going to get a test on all sides of the ball.
Don't forget about Brandon Cooks, who absolutely owns the Raiders over the last couple of seasons. One with New England and one with New Orleans. He had that 99-yard touchdown against Sean Smith, I think, was who was covering him. Yeah, in New Orleans, I was at that game. That I thought right there was the end of the ball game, man. 99 yards, and that place went nuts. But Raiders were able to bounce back. They've got weapons. They've got weapons all over the place. McVay's a good coach, good young coach. Comes from that Gruden system. Started off with him, so it's going to be tough.
And get out your Scantron and number 2 pencil. Big test. And this is the one I'm really interested in seeing tonight, Matt, is the offensive line for the Oakland Raiders. You starting a rookie at left tackle, Colton Miller, offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator for the Raiders, Greg Olson, had talked about Miller and said, hey, we're excited about him. He's living up to what we saw in the film. But he also said he's not exceeding their expectations, which tells you that he's kind of couching there that, look, he's going to be a work in progress at left tackle. He's a young kid. He's got the talent to be an NFL player, but that doesn't mean he's going to come in against the Los Angeles Rams and look like a seasoned veteran.
Well, that's what we said when they drafted him. This is a project guy. What we didn't expect was Penn to be slid over to the right side and Miller to be inserted into the left tackle spot starting week 1. We all thought he was going to be a project, that they were going to work him into the lineup, maybe start him at right tackle throughout the course of the season and get him used to playing at an NFL level, and then eventually he'd be the heir apparent for Donald Penn. But you throw him in there now against this defense and that pass rush, and I'm not overly concerned with what you're going to get out of Donald Penn because he's been there, done that. He is a vet. He's a Pro Bowler.
He's a gamer.
He's played the right side from time to time. It's not his natural position, but he is familiar with it.
Right.
So I think he'll hold up. But Miller's going to struggle. He's going to struggle.
So you have Colton Miller. Just to go over the starters again, Miller, of course, Kelechi Osemele at left guard, Rodney Hudson, the anchor, at center, Gabe Jackson, and as you mentioned, Donald Penn. At tight end tonight, of course, Jared Cook. The receivers are going to be Jordy Nelson, Amari Cooper, and Marshawn Lynch in the backfield along with Derek Carr and Keith Smith. I'm excited to see Keith Smith.
Yeah.
Especially against this Rams defense. It's
big bruising
tough.
fullback.
Right. Is he going to be able to, if he can clear some holes off the top to see somebody come through, especially Marshawn Lynch?
I don't think you need to worry too much about Donald and Suh as far as getting into the backfield because the meat of that offensive line in the middle, they're great.
Yeah.
Those 3 guys you just mentioned are amazing. But you're not going to be able to move those guys too much in the run game. That's where they're going to struggle. You're really going to have to see Smith and Lynch plow forward to get some positive yardage.
That's right. And look for a big game from Doug Martin.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Not going to happen.
I still think he'll be additive, though. Jalen Richard, of course, is the third back in that lineup. And then you look at the defense for the Raiders, Matt. Tank Carradine at end. He fills a spot that used to be filled by who?
The new Bear. Man, what a game last night from that guy.
Unbelievable.
And people were shocked. The strip sack and all that. That's exactly what you get out of Khalil Mack. That's what he does.
No.
He's just doing it in a different uniform.
Well, here's
now.
the thing, though. When that game was going on, first half, right, you had folks who hated, everybody hated the trade from the standpoint of losing the guy, okay?
Yeah.
But there are people who hated the trade so much. I talked to a guy today who told me, I'm done. That was the last straw for me, which is a whole different story. But nonetheless, you see what happens. The first half, everybody, look what happened. And, of course, then Aaron Rodgers shows that he's the Hall of Famer that he is and comes back and beats them, which I prescribe to our guest, Michael Lombardi, who says, look, if you're going to stick to a philosophy of filling guys in when you need them, like Bill Belichick does, then you're okay letting a guy like that go, as painful as it is, because you can go get guys. You have holes to fill, and you need to do it. But
like I keep saying, my biggest problem with that is timing. It's not financially. I understand.
But are you going to win a Super Bowl now?
It's timing. It's regardless. Why? If you're not going to win it now, why did you need to get rid of him now? You've got the best player in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball locked up under a fifth-year option. You can still franchise him for the next couple of years, and if he's franchised and you trade him, you still get 2 number ones back for him.
Yes.
What was the urgency?
Well, and again, just want to remind everybody you're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio 1140 AM via the radio.com app, best app ever made. If you're a sports fan, if you're a news fan, doesn't matter what you listen to. If you want to listen to the best stations from around the country, including CBS Sports Radio 1140 AM and KXNT 840 AM here in town, make sure you download that. We are at the Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party, getting ready for the Raiders and the Rams on Monday Night Football. Come out, enjoy the party. Raise the roof, folks. Have some fun. Watch some football. We're watching folks mill through the book here, wearing Raider gear, wearing Jets gear. I think I saw somebody wearing New York Giants gear. We got people from everywhere.
I'm watching my fantasy quarterback limp off the field right now. What is happening?
But to your point about the Raiders and Khalil Mack, so here's the deal, though, Matt. I get what you're saying. But if you're the Rams and you do it, I get it, because you are in the next 2 years is your window.
Yeah.
The Raiders are, I don't think, in a 2-year window. I'm sorry, they're just not. More like a 4-year window. And if you're in a 4-year window and you got those holes to fill, then you got to do it. But this is something, it's going to be a debate until the Raiders either win a Super Bowl or they don't, or the Bears win one before them. It's going to be a topic of conversation. But you have Carradine, as I mentioned, defensive tackles, P.J. Hall, Justin Ellis, Bruce Irvin at the other end spot. At linebacker, Tahir Whitehead, who I'm excited to see since we didn't get to see a lot of him. Derek Johnson. How much does he have left in the tank, Derek Johnson? What do you think?
I think he has plenty, to be honest with you. I think he's got a solid season coming up for him.
Emmanuel Lamore, of course, out there as well. At cornerback, you're going to have Rashawn Melvin, Garyon Conley. I want to see Conley go all night, and I want to see him play solid.
I want to see Conley finish the game.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I want to see. I want to see Garyon Conley finish this game healthy and put together a full season. They need him. They need him back there. They have more depth this year in the defensive backfield, but they need that guy. He was a first-round pick. He was graded as a top 10 talent. He is a true shutdown corner. We need to see him out there.
Yeah, and that's going to be good. I think that group is actually one of the most improved groups in the preseason. Now, it's got to translate into the regular season.
Yeah.
But Derek Ansley, the coach there, came out of Alabama, has done an amazing job of really, with some influx of talent, of course, there as well. And if you look at that, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, too, is there. He's actually behind Nick Nelson at that spot on the depth chart, which tells you a lot about Nick Nelson, the rookie, as the Jets are about to score. They're about to score again.
Punt return.
Oh, wow. Jets now up 37-17 over the Paper Lions, as they have obviously become once again.
Well, now they believe they've got Matt Castle is going to be in the game now as their quarterback.
Wow.
Yeah. Not looking good for the Lions.
Those Lion fans, I can see they're just, I think they're ordered extra beer because it's going to be a long night. Matthew Stafford dejected on the sideline. Well, and that's what you're going to see, too. I think if you look at this game, Matt, when it comes down to what's going to be the difference, if the Raiders have a chance to win this game, it's going to be because I think of some big play or intangible.
It's going to be because of something like this. You're going to need special teams to come through and make big plays, because it's just that defense, the new system with the Raiders offense, it's going to be tough for them to sustain drives throughout the course of the night.
Absolutely. And we're going to step aside for a break, and when we come back, we'll continue to preview the Rams and Raiders. We are at the Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party down at the Westgate Hotel Resort Casino in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Superbook. Come down, the best sportsbook in all of town. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, this is Rodney Hudson. You're listening to Silver and Black today.
I love when Rodney Hudson brings us back in, Matt.
Quarterback of that O-line, man.
He is a stud. We saw him back. By the way, you are listening to the dulcet tones of Matt Gutierrez and Scott Gulbransen on
what?
Dulcet.
Every day with these words.
I'm trying to teach you, man. I'm trying to give you this vernacular. I'm trying to give you this language.
I'm pretty confident with my ability to speak. I think I have a pretty good grasp on the English language.
Yeah.
But some of these words you come up with, I feel like you purposefully look like one. You just find that one word and you shoehorn it in. And now we have wings up here. You shoehorn it into the conversation on purpose. That's what I feel like is going on now.
No, I just like to get the words in. But nonetheless, we are here for a great party. That is the Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party at the Westgate Hotel Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, the future home of, thank you very much, Elvis Presley back in the 70s. But now it's the home of tonight's big game against the Rams. The Raiders take to the field for the first time under Jon Gruden in the regular season, and we're here to celebrate. We're here to party. It is a party like no other, as we see people going in front of a Step Repeat banner, getting videos, getting...
is that a Chargers fan?
It's a Rams.
Did I just see another interception?
Yes. The Jets are rolling. Break up the Jets.
Matt Castle out there now throwing the ball.
Break up the Jets, ladies and gentlemen. No, it was Stafford again.
Stafford back in. That's his fourth pick.
That's his fourth pick of the night. Amazing. And just think, you could be watching this on like a 250 square foot.
Yeah, you can't even go by inches, right?
I can't even go by. Yeah, it's massive. You got screens all over this place. If you have not seen it, go check out our Twitter handle, silverblack2day, and you will see what we're talking about.
I think they measure these in yards.
This place is unbelievable. If you're a sports fan, you will think that you've died and gone to heaven. Come down, enjoy the Raider game with us, Silver and Black Today. Also, by the way, check out the website, silverandblacktoday.com. We have the latest Raider news and updates there as well, too. A great stable of writers where you can stay on top of the Raider news all the time. And, of course, hear this show. You can hear our show every Sunday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. on CBS Sports Radio here in Las Vegas.
Are you seeing the fans out there in Detroit? They're already booing the team. I think you're going to see the paper bags come out again.
They might be paper
Remember that 0-16 year?
Yes, they might be out there again. Poor fans in Detroit, man. They can't catch a break up there. But we are here talking the Raiders. And Matt, Raiders and Rams. We talked before the break about the offensive line and what's happening there. Let's talk a little bit about Derek Carr. We talked earlier about this system and how he's going to be able to, I think, achieve great things. They asked him, they said, hey, listen, you're in a new offense, your fourth playbook in 5 years. And they asked him, really, are you ready? He said, yes, I'm 100% ready. He said, and Derek Carr, a little bit by necessity, but because of, I think, his character, he bought into Gruden and Gruden's system from the beginning. So I don't think there's anybody more ready. I just think that Derek Carr is too excitable. He's got to learn to settle down as he matures, because I think he gets out there and he gets a little too excited, and that actually ends up hurting him.
It's funny. He does that early in games. But late in games, he's as clutch as you're going to find out
like
there.
The Kansas City game last year.
Yeah, he's great when it matters most, but he is a very hyped up kind of guy. He really gets ready for these games emotionally, just to a fault almost. He does need to learn how to temper that a little bit early on in the game. But once he gets rolling, he really settles into a game, and he understands how to control things out there. Again, you're going to see him with a lot more freedom in this offense. He's going to be out there with a lot of check with me's. He's going to have the freedom to audible out of pass plays into runs and vice versa. He's going to be able to run this offense the way that he sees fit. He's going to be, again, another coach out there on the field, just an extension of Jon Gruden running this team. It's just a question of how long is it going to take for him and everybody else to really get this system, because it is a very, very wordy, very complicated offense.
Well, with the trade of Khalil Mack, too, one of the questions, because, those of us in the media always like to create problems for players, they asked him, do you feel more pressure now Khalil Mack's gone, you got your big contract extension, do you feel more pressure? And I loved his answer, because he said, you know what? No, because since day one, since I got the contract, since last year, even though it was just a cluster of a year last year, he said, I've been focused since day one. I'm focused on making sure that I can be the best player I can be. Yeah. And I think that's what you have to have. When you have a quarterback, we saw it last night with Aaron Rodgers come back and beat the Bears, right? Is you have to have that guy who can settle the team down, lead them on the field with their athletic ability, but also from a leadership standpoint.
It's so funny that touchdown to take the lead for the Packers last night in the fourth quarter. My exact tweet was maybe, just maybe, quarterback position is a little more important to the success of a team than the defensive end position. Not to take anything away from Khalil Mack.
No.
The Raiders are going to miss Khalil Mack. Raider Nation is going to miss Khalil Mack. He is a once-in-a-generation player, in my opinion, and it's too bad that he's gone. But when it all comes down to it, the defensive end is not the one with the ball. He's not the one that dictates the game. That quarterback is the one with the ball. He's the one that's able to get out there, make plays, bring your team from behind, and do things like we saw Aaron Rodgers do last night. Mack had a sack. He had a strip for the fumble. He had an interception return for a touchdown. He was amazing in that first half, and the Packers still found a way to win that game because of what their quarterback did.
Well, I think it comes down to preparation, too. Derek Carr prepares like no other. I mean, he really is a guy who dedicates the time. And when they asked him about having to play Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters, he said, hey, listen, I know those guys. Just like you said earlier, they know him, right? When you play against somebody that much in the same division, you get much more insight to their style, to their habits, and to their ticks, to their tells. And so he said that, too, about them. He said, look, I know those guys. I talked to those guys. I played against them a lot. So they both feel as though it's an advantage on both sides, right? And I think that actually creates the best battles because you know each other, you play against each other so much that the competition level actually gets raised.
I'm just upset we're not going to see Crabtree out there for the Raiders tonight. And not because
no gold chain, Terry?
Not because I think the Raiders are going to lose something offensively. Yeah, man, that Talib and Crabtree rivalry, that was great to watch. I wanted to see more out of Crabtree, to be honest with you, but hopefully Coop can get out there and get on top of Talib and they can make something happen on this offense.
And if Derek, win or lose, if Derek Carr comes out and has a very good performance, meaning that he doesn't turn over the ball, he hits his receivers, he gives them an opportunity to not only get first downs but scores, then you know things are going the right direction. He's grasped the playbook pretty good. But if you look at this game, too, on offense from the running perspective, we talked about Marshawn Lynch, we talked about the Raiders' offensive line, the questions at tackle, okay, which are concerned on the left side because it's Derek Carr's blind side. But from a running perspective against that Rams line, it's going to be tough to get yards.
There's some big bodies in the middle to move.
It's going to be tough to get yards. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see Jon Gruden take some really creative things out of the playbook and use them tonight because you're going to have to.
Man, I'd love to see that, but having watched Gruden in the past and knowing how stubborn he is when it comes to what he wants to do offensively, you go back to the 2000 AFC Championship game against the Baltimore Ravens. The Raiders were the number one running offense in the league that year. The Ravens, obviously, the number one defense, one of the best defenses of all time. And Gruden refused to get out of that running game. He just did everything he could to pound the ball with Tyrone Wheatley and Charlie Garner, and I mean, just would not change his game plan. And I think they had 16 yards rushing at the half, if I remember right. They couldn't do anything against that defense, and he just wouldn't change it up. And then you get the Gannon injury late in the quarter, and that was pretty much it from there. But he's a stubborn coach, and he's gonna do what he wants to do, despite what you're giving him. And hopefully he's
matured.
Yeah, I guess you could say matured, but just we'll hope he's evolved enough. Evolved enough that he sees how he needs to change that offense up when need be.
Thank you guys all for listening. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM. And Matt, I think that also we heard a lot all week about the close relationship, and we're gonna step aside here and take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about it, and that is the close relationship between Sean McVay and Jon Gruden. The student and the teacher now are equals, and how that might create some interesting situations in this game. Vinny Bonsignore, the Athletic, told us about this, and how even Sean McVay's been maybe taking plays from college teams like Oklahoma and doing some different things. So we'll talk about that when we come back. We're going to step aside for a quick break. We are at the Westgate Hotel Resort and Casino in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Superbook. The Red Zone Raiders viewing party. Come on down. We'll be back. CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
The only way to take Silver and Black Today with you is with the radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
That's right. Take the Silver and Black Today with you in your pocket, baby. We are the Silver and Black Today. We are live from just a butt-kicking and watching the Jets go over
the Jets
Lions.
are scoring again.
They're going to score 50 points.
What is going on?
We are at the Westgate Hotel Resort Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, the future home of the Las Vegas Raiders. We are here for the Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party.
I don't want to. You have another
you need some oxygen?
Monday night game on after this, the Raiders and Rams. That's why we're here. And I've said this whole time, I feel like the Raiders are going to get beat badly. Are we going to see two home teams on Monday night just get throttled? I hope not.
I actually have stats on that. I'll get to it in a second. But I want to tell you guys here on the radio.com app, which is the best app ever invented, I think. Later tonight, that's right after us, Scott Farrell will be on. He'll evaluate the Jets game, and it is a Jets game, not a Lions game, and keep you in the know on the Raiders game. So you can listen in after we're done here, too, as well. But if you look at Monday nights and opening games, right, what do you think the Raiders' record is, Matt, since you're a lifelong Raider fan who's now part of the media and does a show here? What do you think?
Well, in their last 5, I believe they're 1-4. Their last 5 opening week Monday night games. Yes. They're 0-4 at home and 1-0 on the road against the Broncos. It was.
That's right. The Raiders lead the series against the Rams 8-5. The last time the two teams played, it was the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah, that was an ugly game.
It was on November 30th of 2014, and boy,
that was Carr's rookie year.
Hopefully you don't see this one again. The Rams beat the Raiders 52-0, and before that, in 2010, the Raiders beat the Rams
16-14.
That's right. Yeah. You got it, man. So you got it all right there. So it's going to be an exciting game. I think, maybe close at the beginning. It's going to be tough for the Raiders to stay in this. We don't want everybody to think we're just being negative. But the Jets fans.
31-point third quarter for the Jets.
31. Wow.
I think that's more than they scored last season.
Can you say bet the over, ladies and gentlemen?
Wow.
But we want to thank everybody here at the Westgate for this Raider Nation Red Zone viewing party. Great time.
It's a good spot, man.
It's a great spot.
This place is great.
Oh, this guy in the 80 Raiders jersey, he's been
hanging out here this whole time.
He kind of looks like somebody. I can't figure it out.
He looks familiar.
He looks very familiar. But we're having fun out here. Make sure you get down here. There's still time. The game starts at, 7:20. It's not even 7 o'clock yet. It's easy to get in and out of the sportsbook. You can park in the back. You can valet in the front. Make sure you come out. I want to thank them for doing it. I also want to thank Cheryl Burnham from the UNLV alumni here in Las Vegas, who brought by Bob Golic and Jerry Porter. Of course, we had Lyndon King on the show yesterday. I mean, 3 Raiders
all over
in
the
2
place.
days. It was fantastic, so I want to do that. This is a great spot. Make sure you come on down. So, Matt, okay, so let's get to this game. We got about 5 minutes left here in our show before we go off the air. You predicted a score a couple weeks ago. Are you still there? Tell me how this game goes down. What's the final score, and what's the difference in the game?
I think the Raiders are going to struggle to run the ball because of those 2 guys in the middle with Donald and Sue. Raiders struggle to run the ball, and that crushes what they like to do offensively, which is play action. Jon Gruden loves play action football. He loves to get that running game going, open things up in the passing game. You want to move those safeties over, slide guys around, use your eyes as a quarterback. Play action's a big part of what he likes to do. But if you can't get that running game going, you're going to struggle. I think the Raiders are going to struggle to run the ball. I don't think Doug Martin is the answer. If the question is he a good running back? I mean, it's just I don't think he's going to help at all. I think offensively it's going to be a grind. I think 31-14 was my prediction, if I remember right. And I'm going to stick with that. I think the Rams' offense is explosive. I think Gurley is going to be a tough one to stop. And the Raiders are going to struggle to move the ball tonight.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I think that my final I'm going to give you right now, 34-17. Okay? And I think one of the differences in the game is actually going to be special teams. And I know that seems crazy, but we all know the Rams just have more depth. They're a little more talented across the board. But I think I was not impressed with Johnny Townsend, the punter. And he's a directional guy. I got in an argument with one of our listeners on Twitter last night who was saying Marquette King is going to be a bad trade. It's going to be this. I don't think you win games with punters, but field position is important. And if you give the Rams a short field, which is I think going to happen tonight, because of struggles for the Raiders on offense, unable to run the ball, I think you're going to see the Rams operate most of the time on a shorter field with their running game, with their passing game. I think that's going to be the difference is field position actually, and giving them an easier try at the offensive side of the ball, and that's why it's going to be 34-17.
I think special teams get forgotten about a lot when you're going into a game, when you're analyzing a game. Everybody talks about offense and defense. Special teams is a third of the game, and if you can find some explosion in there, if you can get those big plays, those big returns, flip the field like they like to say, if you can win the field position battle on special teams, it helps you towards finding a victory. I don't know that either team has an advantage in that case, but if the Rams are playing on a short field, then obviously Gurley's going to go crazy.
Top offensive player for the Raiders tonight.
Top offensive player. I'm gonna use Jerry Porter's prediction. I'm gonna go with Jordy Nelson. We haven't heard anything from him in the preseason yet, and I think you're gonna see a little bit out of him tonight.
I think so too. I think you'll see sure hands and people who can get open pretty quickly. I think Jordy Nelson. I think Jared Cook. I think they're going to have some trouble. To your point about running the ball.
So a couple of Packers are going to lead the way tonight.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So you're going to have trouble running the ball, and you're going to have trouble going deep, I think.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to get possession catches, and I think the tight end and the way Jon Gruden likes to use the tight end will come into play there. So I think both those guys are going to have a good game. And you know what, Matt? I think the thing with Raider Nation here is no matter what happens, as we've been saying over and over and over again on this show, is it's a transition year. It's going to be up. It's going to be down at times. Don't get too down. Don't get too up.
That's the thing. Even keel. The football season's short, but you can't lose the season in one game. It's week one. The season's not over if they lose tonight. They got a long ways to go. They're still building. Gruden's still implementing the system. Gunther's still implementing his system. A lot of football left to be played. Don't start calling for Gruden's head tonight just because the Raiders lose the game. It's only week one, man.
No, that's right. And, of course, the Raiders have a tough second-week game, too, against the Broncos, which we will talk about. We will not only review this game on our Sunday show, which you can hear from 8 to 10 a.m., both here on radio.com and over the air on CBS Sports Radio 1140. They go to Denver. We'll talk about that game next week. We'll have guests on to talk about that as well. So make sure basically, if you want to know what's happening with the Raiders, you listen to our show, you listen to our podcast, you listen to radio.com, you go to silverandblacktoday.com, and we will keep you up to date. Matt, this has been a blast, man.
Dude, I just can't get over the size of these screens, man. This is great. Having a good time.
That's right.
Talk to Bob Golic, talk to Jerry Porter.
Amazing.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
But, yeah, we're going to be going full bore the rest of the season, folks. Make sure you do that. Make sure you listen to Sports Adrenaline, too, on CBS Sports Radio 1140, Saturday mornings from 8 to 10, and our new post-game show called The PG, which runs from 4 to 6 p.m. on Sunday. You watch games all Sunday, Matt, and then you're done. You can tune in and hear America's largest fanboy, Tony Cardasco.
Oh, my God. He's going to be
– I know. He's going
to be intolerable now with this Jets game. We're going to have to listen to that nonsense.
Oh, boy. It's going to be – he's going to tell me he wants to talk about the Jets game the whole time. But I want to thank a couple people. First, Tracy Teagarden, our engineer, making sure to come out here. The best man in the business out here making sure we're on the air. I want to thank him. I want to thank our producer back in the studio, Mark Bonilla.
Raiders!
That's
yeah,
there we
buddy.
go. All right.
He's ready.
Also want to thank our entire support staff, too, here, marketing staff from CBS Sports Radio, came out here to the Westgate Hotel and Resort. We're here. Come on down to the Raiders Nation Red Zone viewing party. For Matt Gutierrez, I'm Scott Gulbransen. You've been listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.